So the practice for this was one of the shortest we've had so far. Just 2 problems, and they didn't require a lot of calculation. If you would please check out your answers to practice number 2 here. If you like what you see and you don't have any questions, then please move on to the homework, which covers the entire week's worth of work, both lessons. So I'm going to lift this now. Those of you who do have questions and would like to see what the problem was, then we're going to work on it together right now. So I did ask you to give the name of the polynomial and tell whether it's positive or negative. Technically, we cannot tell because we don't know what the rest of the graph is doing out here foreverness. But just what is on the screen, what kind of polynomial is it? And this would be a cubic, and it's rising from left to right, so it's a positive cubic. And then asked you to list the roots, come up with the factors, and come up with the equation. So the roots are the x-intercepts. And we have an x-intercept here at -2. So that's one of the roots. It also crosses the x-axis at 0. So x equals 0 is a root. Indicate whether there are any double, triple, or anything. This one is a double root. How we can tell that? It bounced there. So we'll have to take that into account now when we write our factors. We could write the opposite here. This is going to have to be x plus 2. If x equals -2 was a root, then x plus 2 has to be the factor. And there were 2 of those because of the double root. And then you can write x plus 0, x minus 0, or just plain x. It's up to you. I'm going to go with just plain x this time. And we basically have our whole equation. But once again, we do not know the vertical axis. So we don't know whether it's a stretch or a shrink. So we're just going to use the letter A to represent our missing leading coefficient. Usually they do put the single x term next, if there is one, and then we'd finish it off with the square on x plus 2. For the second one, it's got the W shape, but the W is upside down. So this is probably a negative. Both ends are headed in the same negative direction. And although we don't know if this is the whole forever graph, from what's on the screen, this looks like it's a quartic. Roots. Well, this graph here's got a tangent to the x-axis, so there's an x-intercept there at x equals 0. And it just touches again at x equals 3. And they're both double because it is tangent to the x-axis. It bounces there at both 0 and 3. So when we rewrite these as factors And I know some of you can go directly to the exponent. I'm going to be deliberate. We'd have an x and another x because of the double root. We'd have an x minus 3 and an x minus 3 because x equals positive 3 is a double root. And then we can go straight to the equation. They would not expect us to multiply this out, but they would expect us to write that this was x squared and that this was the square on x minus 3. And we're done. So if you are finished and don't have any questions, it's time to go do the assignment that covers